Good morning, friends. Let's move on to the next letter of our alphabet, which is the letter F. The materials you're going to need today is, of course, your white piece of paper, something to write with. You're going to need your paint brushes today. You're also going to need some paint, not watercolor, regular paint. And you're going to need these guys, feathers. F is for feathers. So the first part of our project is we are going to draw the letter F on our piece of paper. The first step is to draw one nice big straight line from the top of the paper towards the bottom of the paper. Now, just like your letter E, we are going to be making lines going away from that line, but you are only going to do 2 instead of 3. You're going to do 1 on the top and 1 in the middle. Letter F. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to darken mine up a little bit just in case. Re-go over it so that it's a little darker than it was. And let's do a line down the side. Okay, so now that my letter is a bit darker than it was before, I'm ready to move on to the next step, which is painting. So roll your sleeves up so they're out of the way. And you're first going to take one feather. Now you're going to need a couple of these, at least one feather per color you plan on doing. Now, if you are my younger friends, you can simply take a bunch of feathers and glue them onto your paper if you would like to just do that. You don't have to do the paint and press part of this project if you don't want to. If you simply want to glue feathers all over the paper, Mom and Dad, just let them do it. For my bigger kids, I would like you to try the paint and press project. So I'm going to take my feather and I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to find the side of my feather that has the quill, which is the really tough part of the feather, sticking out. So one side is really flat, but the other side is really, really sticking out, and that's the side I'm going to paint. So I'm going to start with the color green, and you need a very little bit of paint. We are not going to go hog wild over this. Now I am going to cover my feather as best I can using a very little bit of paint. Again, we don't want to overdo it, and if it's better to just tap, you can simply tap the color onto the feather if that's easier for you, instead of trying to brush it on. Mom and Dad, if you would like to help your child with this project, you can also put the paint on a plate of paper and have your child press the feather into the paint and then onto the paper. There's many different ways you can do this, but I feel this is the best way to ensure that you're not overdoing it with the paint on your feather. So now that my feather is all green instead of red, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to lightly set it on my paper and I'm going to lightly tap while holding the feather down as best I can, brushing away from the feather, tapping away from the feather. I don't want to move the feather around the paper. I simply want to press it lightly and then tap so that the paint transfers onto the paper. Okay, very carefully going to lift my feather up, and you have a beautiful feather print. So now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to use the same feather and the same color, but I'm going to press it somewhere else. Now you don't want to use the same feather too much, 2 or 3 times max, because the feather will eventually start to get all piecey and it won't look much like a feather anymore. So only use it a couple times, guys, and then when you're all done and your feather is completely soaked, just go ahead and throw it away and get a new one. Okay, so as you can see, this one's getting really covered, so I think after this I'm going to be all done with my green ones. I'm going to set it on my paper, and again, tap, 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 getting all the paint off the feather and onto the paper. Tap, 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 all the way up and down. And I'm going to gently peel it off. And now I have two feather prints. And again, I'm going to throw the feather away. Now that I am all messy, of course you're going to need something to clean your hands with. But for now, I don't have much. I am just going to continue. Once you are done with one color brush, leave that with that color. And when you go to do another feather, make sure you grab a new paintbrush and a new feather with your new color. So now I think I'm going to do, again, I'm going to find the side that's sticking out more than the other, and I'm going to do purple, which is a color I have not used in a while for any of our projects. So I'm going to do purple. I'm going to paint my yellow feather all purple. It might be easier for you to put the feather on a flat surface that can get messy. To paint it, I'm using my hand, but I'm also being very, very careful. It might be a little difficult for you guys to use your hand. So if you want to set it down on the table or on a placemat, that can get messy. Or like I said, mom and dad, if you're watching, if you just want to put paint on a plate that they can press the feather into, that should work as well. It might be a little messier, but it'll be a lot easier than trying to sit here and hand paint the feather. Okay, now that I'm all purpled up, I'm going to place my feather and I'm going to tap, 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 tap. Just like I showed you guys, place your feather, tap, 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 all the way down. You don't want to smudge it around. You want to gently tap or lightly stroke the feather so that all of the feather pieces go down onto the paper very nicely, and you're getting all of the paint off the feather and onto your paper. Just like that. Presto. And again, you're not going to get a really deep impression unless you super soak your feather. But if you really soak the feather with the paint, it tends to just turn out like a blob instead of a feather impression. So be careful that you're not overdoing it with the paint at home. You only need enough to cover the feather, not drown the feather in color. Okay, this is my last purple one. And then I think I'm going to do one more color after this. And as you can see, this is sort of a tedious project, meaning it's very repetitive and you're doing the same thing over and over and over. This is a project that you need to be a little bit more careful with versus when we just paint on the paper or paint on a stamp and press that down, because you will find out that the feathers are very flimsy. It's like trying to paint cotton and use it. It doesn't always work out the way that you want it to, but that's okay. It's a lot of practice, and I'm sure you guys will get it. So now I'm moving on to my last color here, which I think I'm going to use a light color now, since I did two darker colors, and I'm going to do a yellow. Again, you want to make sure you find that side that has that hard piece, the quill in the middle, sticking out, because that's the side you want to paint. Grab a new paintbrush for my new paint. And I'm going to tap it on there. Tap, 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 brush, brush, brush. I'm being very careful not to overdo it, but I still want enough on there that I can press on my paper. Okay, set my brush down. I am all colored in yellow. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, where should I press this? Probably about here. Press and tap, tap, tap. It's okay if when you press your feathers you overlap them all together. It's your piece of artwork. It's however you would like it to look. If you want to do rainbow feathers going across the paper, that's completely up to you. Like I said, if you're one of my younger friends at home and you just want to glue all the feathers all over it, Mom and Dad, please just let them have fun with this project. It's not going to hurt them to play around with the glue a little bit, since that's something that we do at school anyways. Okay, there's my yellow, the very bright yellow. And I'm going to do one more across the top, and then I think I'm going to be done for today. And again, since we're going over our letters and doing the entire alphabet, F is for feathers. Exactly. F is for feathers. My last feather, have it all painted. Now I'm going to press it onto the paper, just like so. And since this is pretty covered, I think I'm going to do one at the bottom too, just to get all the paint off the feather and onto the paper. And now I can throw my feather away, and my F paper is all done. And I have nice, beautiful feathers going all over my paper, and I hope yours looks something similar to mine. Again, have fun, get creative, use lots of colors. Make sure Mom and Dad, they're using their washable paints, the liquid paints, not watercolor paints. This project will not work with the watercolors as much as we would like it to. Thank you guys for watching today, and next we're going to move on to the letter G. Bye guys, see you then.